Queen's cousin Prince Michael accused of using royal status to sell access to Putin. An undercover investigation claims the Queen's cousin Prince Michael of Kent said he could be hired for £10,000 a day to make confidential representations to Russia President Vladimir Putin's regime. An undercover investigation has claimed Prince Michael of Kent was willing to use his royal status for personal profit, and to seek favors from Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Queen's cousin told undercover reporters posing as investors from South Korea in a virtual meeting that he could be hired for £10,000 a day to make confidential representations to Mr. Putin's regime. The revelation was made by Channel 4 Dispatches in collaboration with the Sunday Times, who set up a fake South Korean gold company called House of Haedong and approached 5 members of the royal family with an offer of a role. Prince Michael of Kent responded showing interest in working with the company, telling undercover reporters that he would give House of Haedong his royal endorsement in a recorded speech for a £143,000 fee and was happy to use his home in Kensington Palace as a backdrop. Prince Michael does not receive money from the civil list and earns a living acting as chairman of his own private company, which offers consultancy advice. He was also approached about a role helping the fictitious gold firm in Russia. The program said his business partner Lord Simon Reading had used an event at Kensington Palace in 2013, in which Prince Michael was a guest, to sell access to Mr. Putin. The event, to promote the Russian wrestling sport of Sambo, also offered opportunities to personally meet the Russian leader at a later date, dispatches found. In a recorded meeting with the undercover reporters, Lord Reading said, if he, Prince Michael, is representing the House of Haedong, he could mention that to Putin and Putin would find the right person who is interested in South Korea or interested in gold. It just opens the door, you know, which is so helpful. He added, I think, if I can say this is kind of slightly discreet. We're talking relatively discreetly here. Because we wouldn't want the world to know that he is seeing Putin purely for business reasons, if you follow me. He went on to describe Prince Michael as Her Majesty's unofficial ambassador to Russia, and the tension between the UK and the Russian regime has not affected his relationship with Mr. Putin. Responding to program, Prince Michael's office said, Prince Michael receives no public funding and earns his own living through a consultancy company that he has run for over 40 years. Prince Michael has no special relationship with President Putin. They last met in June 2003 and Prince Michael has had no contact with him or his office since then. Lord Reading is a good friend, who in trying to help, made suggestions which Prince Michael would not have wanted, or been able, to fulfill. Lord Reading said, I thought the approach from the House of Haedong was genuine and I was only trying to facilitate an introduction to my friend Prince Michael. I made a mistake and overpromised, and for that, I am truly regretful. I wasn't at my peak as I was recovering from a kidney transplant. For the record, the Sambo event, which was 8 years ago, was my event and Prince Michael was simply my guest along with many other people. Simon Astaire, spokesman for Prince Michael, told the Mirror the royal has no special relationship with President Putin and has had no contact with him since last meeting in 2003. He said, the approach by the House of Haedong, a fictitious company, was undertaken by a television production company. Prince Michael receives no public funding and earns his own living through a consultancy company that he has run for over 40 years. Their Royal Highnesses pay a market rent and fees for their home at Kensington Palace. Prince Michael has long established business, charitable and cultural connections with Russia and is proud of all the work he has done for UK-Russia trade. Prince Michael has no special relationship with President Putin. They last met in 2003 and he has had no contact with him or his office since then. Lord Reading is a good friend, who made suggestions which Prince Michael would not have wanted, or been able, to fulfill. As is standard practice, Prince Michael's private secretary made it clear to the company's representatives during their conversations that nothing could proceed without the agreement of the British Embassy and the help of the Russo-British Chamber of Commerce, of which Prince Michael is patron. Cantiam Services, Prince Michael's consultancy company, has built up accumulated losses and continues to operate at a loss. There is therefore no corporation tax liability to pay. Prince Michael met President Alexander Lukashenko in October 2016 during a visit to Minsk. The meeting was arranged and attended by the British ambassador to Belarus. The visit was supported in full by the FCDO. Prince Michael is not currently conducting any business in Belarus. Prince Michael has never represented BP in Russia or elsewhere. Concerning the event in 2013, which was held at Kensington Palace. The event was held in the King's Gallery, which is managed by Historic Royal Palaces and available for public hire. It did not take place on the Kensington Palace private estate. Prince Michael was a guest at this event. In a statement, Lord Reading said, I believed the approach from the House of Haedong was genuine and I was trying to facilitate an introduction to my friend Prince Michael. I made a mistake and overpromised, and for that, I am truly regretful. I wasn't at my peak as I was recovering from a kidney transplant. For the record, the Sambo event, which took place 8 years ago in the public state apartments at Kensington Palace, was my event. I invited Prince Michael as my guest, along with several others who had an interest in sport for peace.